Hello, I'm just here to review and compare and contrast two Canon lenses for us budget shooters and giving specific likes and dislikes about them in my own experience having shot with both of them. One of them is the 50mm 1.8 prime lens from Canon, and the other one is the 40mm f2.8 prime lens, pancake lens from Canon. Let's start off with the 50mm lens. I'm going to be shooting the review for the 50 with the 40mm pancake, and the 40mm doing the review for the 40mm lens with the 50mm. Okay, so once again, this is being shot with the Canon 40mm pancake lens. And this is my review for the 50mm 1.8. So they call this the Nifty 50 for a reason. It's quite sharp for such a cheap lens. In Canada, where I come from, it goes for around $120. It's f1.8, which is very fast for such a price. Nothing to be scoffed at. This lens is very plasticky, but besides that, I mean, it's very solid lens. I have never had a problem with it breaking or focus rings coming off or anything like that. Maybe I just got a nice build of this lens, but I have no complaints so far. As you can see, it opens very wide, and it's very adept at letting light in. I use this a lot for shooting low light photography or videos of my students or friends. The one thing I find a little bit not so great about this is because I shoot on a crop sensor, the 50mm and works out to be over 80mm, which is a little bit tight for most shooting. And you'll see that in just a sec when I switch over to it to review the 40. But other than that, the autofocus is quite loud. It hunts a little bit in the dark, and it's not the greatest for actual low light photography, in the sense that you can't autofocus it. You have to manual focus, which is hard to do in late night or at night anyways. But with a little practice, you can learn to focus it quite well. As you can see when you're doing video, one thing that is quite important with these kind of lenses is that they have a long throw, so you can get a smooth focusing action. This one does not have a lot of throw. You can see when I turn the focusing dial how much throw it actually has. So I'll start here. So that's how much room you have to focus with. And this can make the lens not so good at smooth focus, as well as you can sometimes miss your focus mark with it. I haven't had too many problems with that actually myself, having practiced with it quite a bit. But other than that, it's a very decent lens, and I would highly recommend this one as a first lens purchase, or even a second one if you're looking for a nice fast prime for a good price. So this portion of the video is being shot with the 50mm, and I'm sitting a little bit further back, probably around 1.5 meters rather than 1 meter. So you can see the sort of the difference between the two with the focal length. I'll also show you a little bit further, wider comparison in a second outside, and in a little bit lower light as well. So this is a review of the Canon 40mm STM lens. So you can see we call this, or some people call this, the Shorty 40. I like to call it not compensating for anything. But this is a great lens for walking around, shooting things in the daytime, as well as unobtrusiveness. If you want to take some candid pictures of people, they don't look at this and go, oh my god, there's a big lens being pointed at me. So aside from, I mean, very technical specs, which could prove that other lenses are much better, this one is nice and sharp, I believe, when it's at 2.8 wide open, whereas the 50 millimeter doesn't get sharp until it's at 2.8 anyways. This one starts off at 2.8. So it's not going to be quite as good for low light work as the 50 millimeter, but it still does the trick. The bokeh on this one is very nice as well, as it has more aperture blades, which give a more creamy sort of bokeh in the background than you'll find with the 50 millimeter lens. I personally, if I was to choose one, if I didn't have both of them, I would go for the 50 millimeter lens just for the extra low light performance. As well as, one other thing is, I shoot a lot of video, and with the 40 millimeter lens, although it's built for video purposes, intended for that, it has an STM motor, which is motor driven, so it's not actually mechanical. Like when you turn the focus dial and there's no power going to it, it's not actually going to focus. So you can see right here, it's already focused in a little bit, the ring is out a little bit, and when I turn this, it's not actually going to do anything. I can also turn it all the way around, whereas with the 50 millimeter, it will stop at a certain distance. This is handy because you have a larger throw, but the downside is even if you're manual focusing, when you're shooting video, it's going to make a sound, sort of like pulling a wire through a really tight space, or if you were to rub your finger along a guitar string. Sounds similar to that. Not the most pleasing sound when you're videotaping, but if you want something that's compact and you can shoot in the day with, that's nice and sharp and a good price, this is definitely a contender, as opposed to the 50 millimeter. It's also quite a bit wider, which makes it better for group shots if you're taking pictures of your friends, or even like scenery if you want to do like some wide angle scenes or something like that. This will be a little bit better. It's a roughly 64 millimeter when it's on the 1.6 crop sensor. It's built for the T3i. That's what the STM is actually optimized for, but I use it on a T3i and haven't had really any problems with it so far. Well, actually, one problem I've seen with it though is sometimes when you attach it to the camera, I guess some of the connections don't quite sync up, and you'll get it won't actually focus. So you have to actually turn off your camera, disconnect the lens, and then reconnect it. Takes a little time. It can be a little bit annoying, and the first time it happens, you go, "Oh my God, I think it's broken," but it's not. Overall, if I was to suggest anything to you as a purchase, one over the other, I would advise you to go with the 50 millimeter, just because it is that much more versatile in low light. And I will show you the difference when it gets darker out. But for now, I just want to show you what the sound of the focusing is and what the bokeh looks like. So I'll get right on that. Okay, so this is the 50 millimeter lens from my deck, and you can see just pointing out over the straight over there. And I just want to let you hear what it sounds like when you're manually focusing this one, if you're using on-camera audio. So it's pretty devoid of any noise. Let's see if I can get some bokeh. So you can see the pentagon there coming out. Okay, so that's 50 millimeter. Okay, so this is the 40 millimeter lens from the same perspective as before, and you can see that it's a little bit wider, more or less the same sharpness, and then this is what the autofocus sounds like. So you can't really hear it too much from outside of the camera, but when you hear the sound, when you play back the video, it's quite loud. So here's a demonstration of the bokeh. You see how it's nice and circular, very creamy. It's definitely one of the upsides of this lens. And you can see how it takes a lot longer to focus it. There's a very much larger throw on the focus ring there. And that's a review. Alright, so this is the low light performance for the 40mm. It's at f2.8. Shutter speed is 1/39, and ISO is at 800. So that's what it looks like. And then I'll show you the 50mm. Okay, so this is the 50mm. Same settings as the 40, but it's at 2.8. So I'm gonna stop down, or stop up, I guess, to f1.8. So that's how much extra light you get from changing from 2.8 to 1.8. And here's the bokeh again. That's wide open. You can see how that's pentagonal. Okay, and that was my review of the two lenses, just showing you the difference in the sound between them when you're focusing, if you shoot video, and for the budget conscious person. And once again, here's the 40, and here's the 50. And I hope that you make the right decision for yourself. I personally think both of these are great lenses, and I would say that they're both useful in different circumstances. Once again, if I was to choose one of them, I would go for the 50. It's cheaper, it's just as high quality, just as sharp, if not sharper, than the 40 at the same aperture. It's a little bit bulkier, but it's still light, and it has a great low light performance. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them. I'm always happy to hear your opinion on the subjects, and thanks for watching. This is my first review, so bye.